strategies, just opening principles. Okay. So have a good afternoon. Probably some of you are in the early morning. Maybe some of you are in the early evening, but that's why I make these streams about so mid after afternoon sort of, so anyone can join. So okay, I think we have already many viewers. Thank you for joining. So maybe someone can challenge me for a game. Good to see you, Mark de Boer. Our friend from the Netherlands. David is here, of course. I couldn't expect less, so okay, maybe someone can challenge me one game, so everyone can join. So Dina Beneliana and Yazarov versus Gotham and Anna Rudolph. That would be cool. Yeah, sometimes you need your rest. ITMND man. I need my rest sometimes too. Sometimes I don't want to do anything. So we have here Alejomi. Very cool. Just wait. Here it's this side. Okay, it's a 5+3. So we have here knight to f6. Okay, I like to play this move knight to f3. Gives me good flexibility. Okay, I'm gonna go c4. We have so far the counter Nimzo Indian setup, so I don't want to play with my knight too early so that I get pinned. I'm waiting. If bishop to b4 happens, then I could go knight from b to d2. So he goes knight to c6. Okay. I'm gonna go e3. Yeah, I could do Queen's Gambit Decline series. So knight to c3. Okay. Now if he pins me, then I can play bishop to d2, then a3, kick with a knight after bishop takes c3. Then I could actually play b takes c3. I don't mind here to get this pawn structure double because I can still undouble myself. So bishop d2. Okay, we're gonna challenge him now. Or maybe even delay a little bit the situation. I want him actually to take here d takes c4. Then I get put my bishop out actively. Yeah, I have this d4 series. Yeah, so oh yeah, we're gonna take with the pawn because I don't risk here to get this pawn structure doubled through the whole game because I can undouble it with by taking. So if this pawn would be on d6, then I would probably recapture with. So okay, now I can. Should I take or should I pass through? Let's take. Yeah, old Benoni is good. Old Benoni is perfectly fine. So here my opponent is already in trouble, I think. Should have probably taken with the pawn. Okay. Yeah, the knight is hanging, so that's not good. Okay, we're gonna attack. At least it comes with the tempo. Bishop e2 and castling, and I'm fine. Okay. Where to go? Let's stay on this diagonal because we want to play something like d5 in the near future. Hi, Mike. I'm sorry if I didn't say hi to everyone, so Bob Jones email account, just wait. Just wait. Bob Jones, game for analysis. I'm sorry. I'm gonna add it now. Just wait. I'm gonna add it now. Game for Yazarov. Let me see. Import game. Okay, we're gonna continue our game. I'm sorry. I didn't see the email. Okay, he attacked my knight. I don't actually mind if he takes out this knight. Let's go here. Knight g5. Okay, what was the game? Oh, it's this common attack in the Ruy Lopez exchange, the Spanish game. Yeah, it's a cool game. Very cool. So what did he play? He played here. Let's pin the knight a little bit. I'm not sure if that's even the best move, so yeah, to d4, do this Titus, do this Nimzo Indian, I think. Okay. I kind of like this idea. Takes, and then d5. d5. Because I want this bishop to be active. Although it's now an easy game because I'm up a piece, but at least I'm trying to make some new tactics in the game. So I want to get the queen somewhere here. Maybe deflect the queen with knight c6. Yeah. Queen g4. I don't get anything out of it. So let's go here. So queen e6. I'm gonna take this pawn and maybe Oh, that's not good. Check. Yeah, the Nimzo is good. David said the Nimzo, and I think the Nimzo is the most natural. You see here, my opponent is around 1100 rated, and he should have played simply e takes d5, and he has a comfortable game because he played the Nimzo. I think the Nimzo is perfectly fine. So where to go? To jump knight e5 doesn't bring me so much. Let's try here. But again, nothing. Not what to do. What to Okay, let's do it like this. I think it's okay. It simplifies the position. And so we'll talk now about the Nimzo, because the subject of today's will be problems of pawns in openings, and a couple of openings, and also poison pawns in openings. So let's mess up at least his pawn structure with the check. At least something. Then we have a new target. Okay, that was good. Okay, counter attack. Mr. Sinister wants to play. Okay, let's go here. But please, let's be faster time format, maybe 3+0 or something. If it's possible. Oh, play David. So, okay. I'm gonna go here. A6. C5. Okay, we're gonna go into the Tarrasch. Into the Tarrasch. Let's go Tarrasch defense. Just simplifications. I'm not so good in this Tarrasch, but I've tried out. I could maneuver my knight now. E5. Okay. Knight E5 here. But then where? Wonder then. Okay. Let's try it this way. Yeah, because I'm simplifying because of this. There is really a sick idea about this Tarrasch defense, and it's this distant pass pawn. So if this game goes in an endgame, if we trade off more pieces, then I have a better endgame because of the distant pass pawn, this A pawn. it's really pervert idea in chess. So now I'm gonna just push pawn. I like simplification. The Tarrasch is brutal. The Tarrasch defense is really wild. Still, I need to improve my knight's position. I have improved it, so I'm okay now with positions. He can play this, yeah. It's possible. It's possible. Okay, I'm gonna go g6. Maybe get my queen into the defense. Okay, very good. Very good. Okay. I have to push now this pawn. So David is really strong. He has improved recently. He's been my follower from the beginning. So he wants to play, of course, queen to here. Have to make this one. H5 here. H4, H6. Then he can play this one. I can take out then. No checks are possible. Discovered. Yes, kick away simply the knight. The knight annoys me really here. Okay, push pawn, push pawn. So he's going to try. Can we play a counter attack? At least something. So let's go here. Here. Okay, good game. Yeah, again, it's 5+3 rated, so okay, I think we can start now. The lessons is that okay with you, Mr. Sinister? We can play later, maybe. Good game, David. I tried the Tarrasch. I'm not so familiar really with all of the strategies of the Tarrasch, but the main strategy really of the Tarrasch is to go into this distant passpawn situation. So what you want to do here is use this 2 versus 1. So I'm not sure if this bishop to a6 is a good move. Let's see. So it has been played, bishop to a6. So yeah, it has been played, but bishop b7 more accurate. So you should try the Tarrasch. I think the Tarrasch is also good against d4. You see, the distant passpawn idea is really great. What you want to do is actually really the simplification. You want the simplification. You want to get rid of these 2 pieces. You want to get rid of the queens. You want to get rid of the rooks and going into a distant passpawn endgame. So it's simple as that. It's really a wild strategy. And I think the Tarrasch is much better than the Grunfeld because the Grunfeld has similar structures with g6. You're actually doing similar pawn structure, but actually your pawn structure is already weakened with the move g6. So that's the main issue. So here I think you have a decent game, and I played on that simple idea. It wasn't a special game, but as I said, I wanted to try it out. So But as I said, bishop to a6 probably not the best. Yeah. Okay. I think the Tarrasch is good. What do you think about the Tarrasch defense? So, okay. So actually, our subject today is are the problems of pawns. So I've talked about that many times also in so far in the series, and we have talked about this 3 opening stages in the opening. So it's of course fast development, developing minor pieces, securing the king by castling, and then maneuver the queen from the first rank and connect the rook. So yeah, have a Lichess hoodie. Yeah, very good. Thinkbox, I think we can compare this openings because of the pawn structure. That's what I meant. So let's see the Grunfeld. So the Grunfeld is similar with d4, knight to f6, c4. Then we played g6. We have knight to c3. Then now d5. So again, like in the Tarrasch, you're allowing this move e4, knight to c3, and like in the Tarrasch, here after the move c5, let's go bishop to g7, maybe knight to f3, castling, I don't know, maybe bishop to e2, c5, castling, c takes d4, c takes d4. So you see, it's similar. The pawn structure is similar, like in the Tarrasch. White has the pawn central control. White has this 2 versus 1 situation. We have this 2 versus 1 on the queen side. So that was only one line. It's maybe not the best again, but I wanted to show it's similar pawn structure. So again, the main strategy of blacks is simply to trade off more pieces, and going into the main strategy is to go into a favorable 2 versus 1 distant pass pawn endgame, where we could create maybe a distant pass pawn on the a file. Do you agree? So as I said, it's more aggressive. The Grunfeld is, yeah, but in the Tarrasch we have also attacked the center. So in the Tarrasch, just look at the pawn structure. You know, again, you can play something like b6. You know, the main difference is that we have in the Tarrasch we have pushed the e6 pawn instead of the g6 pawn. That's the main difference. But I like to always watch this pawn structure from central control, and here where we have the pawn majority. So yeah, okay, you don't compare them, okay, but in my opinion they're still similar, although the Grunfeld is more aggressive just because of the bishop's activity on the long diagonal. That's the main good part of the Grunfeld. But actually the bad part is that you have weakened already your kings with the move g6. So in some occasions you'll see also an early flank attack in the Grunfeld, because what you can also notice in the Grunfeld, you don't have, like for instance in the King's India, or you don't have the knight on f6, knight to d7, knight to f6. You don't have so many defenders. We can notice that in front of the king in the Grunfeld. So that's why you see many times that white will simply early flank attack with h4, h5, even bishop to h6, queen to d2, this common, I like to call it the Yugoslav attacks. So trading off the dark square bishop, and maybe even try checkmates on the h file. So yeah, okay, I hope we have solved now the Tarrasch and Grunfeld. As I said, I just mentioned it's similar, not the same. Yeah, but still, even in this position, I think I would go into the distant pass pawn strategy, just keeping a calm game. Here b6, bishop to b7, knight to d7, trying to push the pawns further, a6, b5, then afterwards, you know. Okay, so let's go back. So today's problem is the problems of pawns. So I've talked about this idea many times. I think we can start now really with the subject. is the problems of pawns. So we should always play in an opening with not so many pawns. We shouldn't play dubious moves. We shouldn't lose time in the opening in order to play some dubious pawn moves. So here I wanted to show you one of my games. It's in my favorite opening. It's in this hyper accelerated rank Sicilian defense. This will be not a special game, but as I said, we have pushed now 2 pawns, and I've mentioned it before. We're attacking simply this d4. That's our main control. But now after move d4, c takes d4, knight to d4, bishop to g7, I think many beginners, what they make as a mistake, they're making after maybe something like, I don't know, knight to c3, they're playing maybe something like a6. So they're not developing the pawns very fast. They're not developing the pieces very fast. They're playing with many pawn moves. In this move a6, I think it's really a necessary pawn move. So this will be the subject, this unnecessary pawn move. So we should simply develop fast as we can without pushing the pawn. So I played here knight to c6, bishop to e3, knight to f6, knight to b3. This is one line I really hate to play against. It's really one of the most positional lines for white. White will build here a compact setup, and you have really trouble. This move knight to b3 in this hyper accelerated dragon Sicilian defense is a provocative move. What white wants you to do is to play a5, a4, and if you have followed my series so far, we have talked about these problems of knight, and when the knight is on b3 like this, I've recommended you to play an early flank attack against this knight on b3 when the knight is on g3, or maybe from black perspective on g6 or on g6 or on b6. I hope you can remember when we talked about this. So what white wants to do is to weaken the pawn structure further, then you vulnerable to some attacks here on dark squares. There are of course clear targets. c5 is weak, and then also the move b6 is the square b6 is weak. So that's why in my opening preparations I played the move b6. So I don't touch even here the move d6. The d6 is again sort of a pawn move, but the pawn moves in the center are very problematic because you're showing your cards in sort of in chess. You're showing your opponent where he should attack, and now obviously maybe with f3, queen to d2, again white could go into this Yugoslav attack with queen to d2, bishop to h6, and maybe f3, h4, g4, and similar stuff. So here I played b6, my opponent castled, bishop to b7, and now after queen to d2, you see when we have developed now all of our minor pieces, now we have pushed only one pawn move. It was the move c5, and then we have taken in the center 2 pawn moves and then 3 pawn moves. So we didn't push so many pawns, but we have developed all of our minor pieces. We have secured the king by castling, and now here d5 is a possibility. But now it's time to break through. It's actually a common strategy in the dragon, in this hyper accelerated dragon Sicilian that I like to play. So here after move d5, you see we can take out this pawn. I played e6 after trades of pieces, e5, here bishop to c3, trades of queens, knight to d5, took, e5 takes, and bishop to b2. And this was a game, believe it or not, against an international master. I didn't win this game, it was a draw, but actually I was very satisfied with my outcome of this position. I've created 2 weaknesses, and although the evaluation was better for me, I didn't manage to win this game because he protected his pawns, cemented his knight on d5, and then I had some trouble. So that was the main. But as I said, our main goal is not to push so many pawns like in the Nimzo Indian. In the Nimzo Indian that I recommend you to play against d4, you see we have played one pawn move, knight to c3, bishop to b4, and we have castling. So we have already secured the king, and we have only played once with the pawn, and we shouldn't play. As I said, here I've prepared some examples for you. I used many of these examples in my Basics in Chess thread videos. If you have followed my Basics in Chess series, here it's a game played by Adolf Anderson, and he played here the move h6. And again, I'm pointing out we should play fast development, bishop to e7, and then castling without this move h6. What is now the possibility? I wanted to explain you how dangerous this unnecessary pawn moves can be. What can happen after potential h6 move? So okay, try to see maybe now a great tactic. Because of this pawn moves, we have said we shouldn't play so many times. So as I said, in this scenario, black should have probably played bishop to e7 and then secure the king by castling. So what would be now a cool opportunity for black, for white, pardon. Yeah, very cool. We have knight to f7, king to f7 was played, bishop to c4, if bishop to e6, then d5, and now here Adolf Anderson played the move king to e7. You see how you get already in trouble because you haven't secured the king by castling. You played an unnecessary pawn move, h6, because what black was probably worried about is this move bishop to c4, so he hoped for maybe knight to f3, and then he could maybe continue with bishop to g4, maybe bishop to e7 and castle. So but it's not so in chess. In chess every move counts. So h6, huge blunder, knight to f7, king to f7, bishop c4. So here king to e7 was played, queen to h5, and now queen to e8. And pause the video and try to see now the best next move. Now it's time to strike back with some tactics. Okay. Now it's time to win this game. Test your might, yeah. Test your might. Okay. Yeah, bishop g5. But actually, I was hoping for that someone will play queen to g5. It's more beautiful. I think we can agree. Because after h6 g5, bishop g5. Okay, bishop g5 was also a possibility, but I like simply more the queen sacrifice. So okay, I hope you realize what I'm trying to say. So here is again an example of a position in which again black has some good activities. The king is still in the center, and again I think white makes sort of a mistake. It's not developing the pieces, it's not securing the king by castling. Again plays an unnecessary pawn move with the move b3. So you see the position is already dynamic. The position is already dynamic, and that's what I said. We shouldn't play first in the beginning so many pawn moves. We should develop. So probably the best way here is to play knight to f3, and maybe after something like rook to e8 we could play a knight to d4. And that's actually the problem of white here, because white lost a tempo in the opening. That's actually how you should always think about this position. You see, this is already a wild game. Already some tactical possibilities are present all over the board. So securing the king is very important, but you can do it, of course, simply by developing the minor pieces and simply get out of this mess. Because here b3 was played, and it allowed now black a very pleasant game with the move knight to e5. We had now knight to f3, and you see now how you can lack in one tempo and lose the game. Knight to f3. What would be now for you the best continuation for black? What would you do now? Okay. What would you do now in this position? Obviously, white has this bishop here, which is perfectly fine, but the king is still in the center. So what would you do now in order to punish this king in the center position? Yeah, knight d3, very good. So as I said, when we are on the attacking side, we can actually now even flip the board from black's perspective, because the main goal of this video today is, of course, to show you how one pawn move can actually cost you really cost you the whole game. Because I think with the move knight to f3, white could have a good defense, because then this move knight to e5 wouldn't be a possibility. So always pieces before pawns. So we have talked about these ideas in many of my videos. So now knight to d3, perfectly fine. It prevents at least white from castling. So king to f1, we'll flip the board, we'll leave it like this, because now we're playing from black's perspective. We can also study some tactics. So okay, now the question is, should we or should we not retreat with the knight? So, or should we take the bishop, or should we play something else? Should we retreat with the knight? So and actually the position is already better for black, and I think from black's perspective it's perfectly fine. So what's now the best next move? Okay, which piece, how do you decide to develop the knight in the center? Aren't you moving the same piece in the beginning twice? Yeah, but okay, you mean knight to e5? Yeah, but the problem is you cannot develop any other piece. You have to also develop your light. So bishop b6 is not a possibility. So okay, it gives, I think, so rook to e8. Yeah, very good, Mark de Boer. Rook to e8. So what happens if e takes d3 e takes d3 happens? What would be now our continuation? So something like queen to e2, knight to g4, and similar stuff. So this would be a very serious threat. Let's see. Queen e2, king to g1, knight to g4, queen to c5, must move. And now, let's find now the monster move. Let's find now the monster move. Let's see now the tactic. This wasn't played in this particular game, but I wanted to show you. Very cool, very cool think box. Rook g3, very nice. So cutting off the connection between the queen and this f2 square, very cool move. So you see, that's actually what we've talked about. So when we are attacked, we should always consider first the option of a counterattack. We have talked about that. Do you remember? So counterattack, counterattack. We're attacked, okay, but do we have to really to retreat? I don't think so. So very cool. Rook to e3, interference. Yeah, very beautiful tactic. So here in the game, rook to e8, we have knight to d4. What to do now? We're attacked again. We're considering some other moves. So we're attacking. So where to go with the queen? Where is the most active square for the queen? Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit longer. Yeah, that's because Titus or Titus, I'm not sure how to read it, Titus, I just call it Titus. So I think the main problem about this beginners stuff is that you don't you always react to this position. You play knight to d3 like this, and then you retreat, and then if you retreat, the position is not so good anymore. Yeah, queen g4 is perfectly fine because we're searching again for the best next attacking move. So here, queen to g4. What happens if bishop to f3? Happens queen to d4. So it comes with a counterattack. Here in the game, queen to c3 was played. What now? Queen g4 again. Now we're searching for new opportunities. So the main attacking subjects are counterattack, finding the best next square for finding the best next square for our piece, and activating all of our pieces in the attack. So these are the main attacking principles. So principle of counterattack: when we get attacked, at least consider the option of a counterattack, and then if you have a good setup, find the best next square for the piece or activate the last piece that hasn't played so far. So okay, queen g4, we have solved this position of queen g4. Knight e4. Okay, let's see, knight e4. Then queen d3. We have gained nothing here, so not going to work. So as I said, main principles: we have to bishop to f5. Very good, Catherine. Activating the last piece into the attack. Very cool. So bishop to f5. That's something that has to come always. So let's see now. This is, I think, a beautiful chess game. Here, as I said, principle of counterattack first. So we got attacked, we get a counterattack. So we're playing rook to e1. Then we get attacked. We cannot play counterattacks because they're not good. Maybe knight to g4, but at least, as I always like to say, at least consider the option of a counterattack. Maybe knight to g4 in some occasions could work, and maybe this is a check. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, when we don't have a counterattack, then we're searching for the best new square for the piece. So what's the most active square for the queen? Queen to g4. Now, after the move queen to c3, you see again, we don't want to retreat, we want to keep these pieces active. Now we get our last piece in the attack, bishop to f5. So these are really the main attacking principles. This has to settle somehow for you, because let's see what happens if knight to f5 happens. Then of course here it's a checkmate, queen to e2 followed with queen to f2. So you see, you cannot, if here e takes d3 happens, then queen to d1, you have only one square, and then we have knight to g4. So you see how these pieces get active, but that's only because you have played very important three principles in the attack. So after the move bishop to f5, bishop to f3 was played. Okay, what should we do? Counterattack? Let's see now. So what, let's just answer this question. What should be our first thought in this position? What should be our first thought when we want to play attacking chess? What should be our first thought? That's now the question. That's simply a simple question. We don't want to calculate anything, just answer this. What should be our first thought? So yeah, I'm gonna send you the PGN. Just to wait. How to do that immediately? It's I'm gonna write it down here. Maybe you can search Jan Votava versus Anna V. So I've written it down. You can search it maybe. So Jan Votava versus Anna Vitarnieva Zatonsky. So okay, but what should be your first thought? Really, queen h3. Let's see, queen h3. It's not that it's bad, but again we'll reach a similar position. You see, so queen g, so queen f, bishop to f3. Again, it's just similar. So as I said, what should be our first thought? First, that's what Mikhail Tal, that's what Vasily Ivanchuk would think immediately. Yeah, thank you. Catherine said queen takes f3. Queen takes f3. Very cool. Yeah. So as I said, at least we're considering this move. We don't want to chicken out. We're not chickens, we're attackers. So sacrifice then calculate later. Yeah, that was Tal's quote. So queen takes f3 should be really our first thought in chess. Let's now calculate. Let's now calculate, okay? Okay, queen takes f3. Let's see what happens. E takes f3. What now? Now bishop to h3. The king has to move. And now rook to e1. So far it's possible. So let's go back. But of course, here white can play knight to f3. Okay. What now? What now? Bishop h3. Okay. Let's now calculate bishop to h3. There's only one square. This was so now what now? Now we have reached this position. Rook e2, very good. Rook e2. There is now the serious threat of rook to g2. Let's see if you don't take out the knight. Let's see a bad move. Bishop b2, rook g2. Then you get here, rook to f2. So we can play on this windmill tactic. You see, we can do this. We can play a monstrous windmill. We can take everything from the second rank. So that's why queen to d3 is forced. What now? So what now? Very good. Rook g2, king f1, rook takes d2, king e1, and rook to d3. And let's just stop. I don't want to show you. So here we stop. It was a winning game for black. Black managed to activate the pieces. Of course, rook to e1 will happen, and the activity is simply too much to handle. So knight is hanging. So as I said, and the evaluation is +6 for black. So even bishop to g2 is here possibility. So as I said, first principle of counterattack, next best active square, and then using all of the pieces in the attack, and again trying every move. So we should also consider the move that we think it's really bad, like a queen sacrifice. The queen sacrifice has to be always your first option to think about. I hope you can agree. That will really change your mindset in chess, I think. Okay, do you agree? And I think it was really a beautiful example. So I've written it down. It was game, as I said, Jan Votava against Anna Vitalievna Zatonsky. So really beautiful game. So we did already this example. Let's see now this. I've also used this example already in one of my basics in chess, but I will repeat again because I think it's also a beautiful example. Again, the problems of pawns here. So again, black has the opportunity to secure the king by castling, and that's, I think, a thing that beginners make very often, playing these pawn moves, preventing something. They don't secure the king immediately. So here black played the move h6 in order to prevent probably some pinning ideas, you see, but better is simply castling, then maybe if bishop to g5 happens, okay, then we can play knight from b to d7. Still, of course, white is much better because of this bishop's activity. That's not the point, but maybe we can hang on to this position. I'm not sure if we can hang on to this position, but as I said, at least nothing dramatically is immediately going on. But after move h6, that's the point of this video today. Really, already bad things happened for black, because now what's the best continuation here for white? Yeah, we're not doing here Botez Gambit. I'm trying that you're not playing the Botez Gambit, and I'm trying to show you healthy openings, really main strategy. So very good, Catherine. So bishop c5. Bishop c5, very nice move. Prevents now black from castling. The king is naked, the king is in the center. So here knight from b to d7 was played, and let's find out the best next move. That was the continuation. As I said, I've used already this tactic in my... Okay. What now? Knight takes e4. Okay. I'm going to castle. I cannot castle. It's possible, but there is a more effective way. Knight to e4 is perfectly fine. I'm not saying it's bad. Again, what should always be our first thought in chess? Yeah. Very cool. So, queen to e4. Knight takes e4, and then bishop to f7. Very cool. Checkmate. Very nice. So, as I said, you see how this unnecessary pawn moves can really be bad. So, okay. Do you agree about this unnecessary pawn move? So, yeah, sack the queen, David. Queen e4, really beautiful checkmate. So, okay. We have here now a gameplay by Alexander Alekhine against Oscar Tenner, and here it's again a complex position. It was a King's Gambit declined still when the King's Gambit was very often played. Again, I'm pointing out, please remember this. Sometimes we really forget about these castling situations. We're thinking too much about some other opportunities here. The bishop got challenged by Alexander Alekhine. He challenged Oscar Tenner's bishop here on c5, and the best way, again, I'm pointing out, yeah, David, chess is really amazing. Like David said, one pawn move can really cost you the whole game, and that's exactly what I want you to teach today. So Okay. It wasn't an equal game. Or this previous example, it wasn't an equal. White was much better, but as I said, maybe I'm not sure if I would play this position for white after Magnus Carlsen, for instance, Castle. I'm not sure if I would win that game. So as I said, it was simply a bad move, and it was game over. So again, black has here the opportunity in this example to castle. And okay, nothing dramatically is going on, because here maybe here d takes knight to c5, d takes c5, and okay, here you cannot take. Still we have the spin, and I think although we have lost the bishop pair, I think we have also a great control of the d4 square. We can cement our knight there if we get challenged with h3. We can even take bishop to f3 and maybe cement then the knight afterwards. So as I said, you have again the opportunity to castle. But what black did is e takes f4. Again, played sort of an unnecessary pawn move. We have knight to c5, d takes c5, bishop to f4, and now knight to h5 was played. Again, black doesn't want to castle. Bishop to e3, and now knight to e5. Okay, let's see now the best continuation here for white. Again, unnecessary moves, unnecessary king in the center position. Yeah. Catherine says knight to e5. Where from Catherine? I now the first time on my stream. Okay, we have now bishop to f7 is also bishop to f7 is also a possibility. Bishop to f7, knight takes f7, so it's not good. Thanks for joining, Catherine. Okay. Okay, we had already knight e5. Yeah, knight to e5. Queen d1, bishop to f7. What happens if king to f8? Then bishop to c5. So here king to e7. What now? Hi, Boris. Yeah, we have bishop c5. Very good. King to f6. Kingside castling. King e5. And rook to f5. You see how dangerous chess can be. Again, without securing the king, again playing this pawn moves, pawn trades. As I said, let's go back to this position. So as I said, knight to a4. Okay, you can still play bishop to b6. You can play castling. And again, black made huge blunders, so played too many pieces and now got punished. Knight to e5. The pin simply doesn't work. So okay. Okay. Uh, so let me see. I hope you realize this ideas of this bad pawns. I've prepared here another example. It's gameplay by Wilhelm Steinitz against John Henry Walsh. Again, you see black played here the move h6. So that's exactly what you should not do. So it's this move is not doing anything. So you see many times you see beginners make moves like this. So h6, I don't know. I'm not sure about this move, what this move is doing, what this move is preparing. Good night, Catherine. So here h6, really bad move. So we play now d4, normal move, c takes d4, knight to d4, queen to b6, and now bishop to e3. And with this example, we're starting now with the poison pawn. So we're talking about now in the continuation of the video about the poison pawn. The poison pawns are b7, g7, g2, and b2. These are the 4 pawns. So these pawns are sort of patterns in chess which you should recognize. Basically, from this point on, we're deciding if we want to play a more positional game. As I said, we could have played something like knight to b3 and then bishop to e3. So I think a more positional player would play knight to b3. An attacking player plays bishop to e3. So as I said, Karpov Tal, probably Karpov knight to b3, Mikhail Tal bishop to e3. So that's the style what you want to play. So if you want to be a sheep or a wolf, I watched the training day recently, so I use now the expression of Denzel Washington when he said, "Do you want to be the sheep or the wolf?" So same with chess. So okay, we want to be attackers. Yeah, I agree with you, Ralph. So we're starting now the poison pawns. So we talk about the problems of pawns today. So now we have the poison pawns. As I said, I'm repeating b2, b7, g7, g2. So these are four poison pawns, and whenever you see that your opponent is attacking, or when we are attacking maybe one of these 4 pawns, then we should always know that from this point on there's no turning back, there's no checking out. Now the game becomes really tactical. So okay, here in the game John Henry Walsh took with the move queen to b2. What to do now? What's the best move? Yeah, I agree with you, Titus. It's not the point. I would probably play knight to b3. As I said, I would play knight to b3 in this game, and then bishop to e3. I'm simply a more positional player. What to do now? Knight from d to b5. Very good by ITMND man. Yeah, knight from c to b5 is different. because I think black can even take, maybe knight takes d4, because it forces a new trade of pieces. Still, it's a better evaluation for white, but knight from d to b5 is more accurate, because we don't want to trade off now some more pieces, because we'll need also some so now the serious threat is, of course, rook to b1, and the queen gets trapped. So that's why here queen to b4 had to be played. What now? Knight to c7. Here king to d8 was played. Now what now? What's now the best next move? Let's find again, I'm pointing out, look at this pawn, really unnecessary. I think if you could just imagine this position, the same position, maybe with a +1 tempo for black, then it could be playable. Okay, let's find now the best next attacking move. Knight b5, we said it's also perfectly fine, but I like one move better. Queen d2, okay, I think it's also a possibility, because if takes, here bishop to d2 was played, as I said, but at least we found good moves. As I said, queen to d2 would be also perfectly fine, because you cannot take, you get the 4. Okay, but here Wilhelm Steinitz played bishop to d2. We have a rook to b8. Okay, let's find now a new attacking move. Using the principle of using all of our pieces in the attack. There, when it comes to evaluations here, there are many moves that are maybe better than this move, but I want you now really to see one move, because I want you really to apply this principle of the last piece, getting all of our pieces in the attack. Okay, knight d5 is still possibility. It's perfectly fine, as I said. Knight d5, okay, but let's play now with a new piece in the game. Let's activate all of our pieces. So yeah, rook to b1, yeah, that actually because I think the idea after rook to b1 is much more clear. So it's, we're getting again new piece in the attack. We have queen to d4. And again, knight to b5 works and similar stuff. So okay, here bishop to d3 was played, which wasn't the best of game. Knight to b4. Here knight to b5. Let's skip a little bit further. And here knight to d3. We have c takes d3, queen to d3. What now? Now we have here a chess puzzle to solve. So okay, many moves are good, but one is winning immediately. Knight c d5. Direct threats. So yeah, very good Terrell, very good ITM ND man. I really have trouble to read this. Kyozo, Very good. Knight e6. Yeah, knight e6 is a monster move. If of course takes, then bishop to a5, discover the attack, and you lose the queen. Here king to e8 was played, and now a really beautiful checkmate here with both of these knights. Knight to c7. So very cool. So as I said, here if you take, bishop to a5, and it's game over. Very nice example. So as I said, poison pawns, very important stuff. YTMND. YTMND. Okay. Yikes. Yeah. Really wild stuff here with both of these knights. So okay, here is the gameplay by one Croatian grandmaster from the 70s, and he played here against Bobby Fischer. It was a French defense, the Winover variation, and here we have again this poison pawn variation. So of course we have to play now rook to g8. You see again Bobby went here for this line, queen to h6, knight from b to d7, knight to e2, and now b6. Let's stop and evaluate a little bit the position. What good things has black? What kind of a compensation has black here for the pawn that black lost? So as I said, here it's Bobby Fischer with the white pieces. He lost the game against Kovacevic, but for this last one, you David Dinan, you mean for the last game? Okay, but it's I'm just going to write it down. So it's Wilhelm Stein. It's versus Walsh, 1870. I'm just going to write it down. Okay. We have here the end. White has weak queen side, double pawns on c file, open g file. Very good. So actually, I think these poison pawns variations are playable. What we can notice now is that white has trouble to castle because of this open g file. It's very hard for white to castle. Queenside castling is not an option anyway. We have now an e4 pawn, which creates a space advantage. We have now the opportunity to play on the long diagonal, and maybe with queen to e7, queenside castling would be a possibility. So I think when it comes to king safety, that black is much better. Of course, this open g file is really wild. So yeah, it's something I think, and the problem is always castling. Castling is many times in this poison pawn variations a problem for the opponent that takes the poison pawn. Here white can maybe cement the position with bishop to e3. Here bishop to g5 was played, queen to e7, queen to h4, attacking further this position, bishop to b7, knight to g3 with the idea to play knight to h5, and here h6 by Kovacevic. So very cool stuff. What happens if you take queen to h6? Oh, pardon me. Okay. So I think we can castle rook to g6 first. We can also, yeah, it's just wait. I have to make something. Something is not working. Just wait. Sorry. Where is this game? Okay. Okay, after queen to h6. Rook g6 would be a possibility. Knight to g4 is also a possibility. After bishop to e7. We can take out the queen and still the bishop is very, very bad. Bishop to b4. And I think now something like f5, f4 could be a possibility. a5 locks the bishop here. Really wild stuff. So, as I said, we shouldn't sometimes, I think, react to this opponent's attacks. Here in the game, very cool move by Vlado. Bishop to d2, queenside castling, bishop to e2. Okay, again, this queen gets for the pawn, rook to h6, bishop to g5, queen to g5, and now rook to g8. Here it was this continuation by Vladimir Kovacic, and I think from this point on, really, Black has a beautiful, beautiful game. So, what happened? Is everything working fine? I have troubles with some connections. So, you see, these poison pawn variations are very, very tricky here in the game after it was played by Bobby Fischer. And let's see now the best next move. It's really, really hard to see now. Hi Ramakrishna. Okay, well here Vladimir Kovacevic played here really an outstanding move. It's not rook to h2. It's really a sick move. I'm not sure. So knight to f8, for instance, is a possibility. It's perfectly fine. I think white is good. So yeah, e3. That's great, David, because yeah, we want to get the F file closed. Very cool, very cool. Because Bobby Fischer's main goal was the spin on the F file, and E3 is really a monster move. E3 locks the F file. If Queen to E3, then simply Knight to D5, and we get here a very nice Knight to F4. We simply kick away the. We can then play afterwards Queen to H4, and the lost game. So I'm sorry, this was a hard one. E3 was really a wild move. E3 locks the F file, and now we have a perfect attack. So bishop to E3, knight to F8, we have queen to B5, knight to D5 here attacking the bishop, king to F2, here A6, queen to D3, and now rook to H2 was a possibility. We have rook to H1. Again, how we should attack this position. Again, we want to activate new pieces, so yeah, if bishop takes the E3, then you're again vulnerable to some attacks. Then you have taken the square to answer Westpin Protos. If bishop takes E3, then the queen would have stayed on G5, and you have taken some squares for your opponent's queen to escape. So the queen would be endangered further. Here, after move rook to H1, yeah, queen to H4, thank you. So we want to stay with this attacking formation. Queen to H4, the best move. It's obvious that this pawn, this knight is very bad here. Rook to H2, queen to H2, knight to F1, rook to G2, here, queen to H4, king to D2, knight to G6. It's so there. I hope you realize these ideas of this poison pawn. So activity of rooks very important. This E3 move was really something else. I think this was really a brilliant move. But my friend David from Germany saw that, of course. So really cool game. So rook to E1, knight to F4. You see how these knights are dancing now. Here, rook to F2 in this position. Bobby, the legendary Bobby, resigned. So it was the historical win for a Croatian grandmaster against Bobby Fischer. That was the highlighted moment of Vladimir Kovacevic's life. I think it wasn't maybe the most popular player, but here you see how he could have played. So here I wanted to show you a really great example of the poison pawn, how things can get bad when you get greedy. When you get the poison pawn, again I'm pointing out these are the 4 poison pawns, so G2, B2, B7 and G7. Sometimes you see that people get greedy. One of the best ways is simply to get this poison pawn and get the hell out of there. Get simply with your queen somewhere else, trying to see new squares for the queen. Try to escape, because you have taken a pawn, and now the main goal is simply to secure your position. So getting the pieces back, getting a compact position, okay, and try to go maybe into a favorable endgame where you want pawn up. But here I wanted to show you an example by Teimur Radjabov against Sergei Karyakin in the Najdorf poison pawn variation with queen to b6. Here Sergei Karyakin played this line: queen takes b2, rook to b1, queen to a3, e5, here by Teimur Radjabov. What happens here? D takes e5, D takes e5, knight to d7. Again, the question, should we protect this pawn? Should we protect our pawn on e5? because I think we can reach sometimes these positions, and many of us would play something like bishop to f4, but unfortunately for us, then the attack is splashed. So bishop to f4, okay, we have defense. So should we defend this pawn? So what we always get out of this positions, out of this poison pawn variations, is at least some kind of an activity. So the first question, should we retreat again? Should we protect this pawn? Yeah, he cannot take actually, because there are always some discovered attacks. This knight could jump maybe here somewhere, knight to b5. You see, after knight to e5, knight to b5, and then deliver checkmate. The queen cannot get here in between because the knight. Okay. Bishop b5 is not so good, I think. 8 takes b5, let's see. Let's see, knight to b5. Queen c5. And okay, knight d6 doesn't bring it so much. So here knight to e4 was played by Teimur Radjabov. h6, bishop to h4, and now you see Karyakin gets greedy. That's the main goal of this example. So queen to a2, Karyakin gets a little bit greedy, takes another pawn, lost of tempo sort of. As I said, we should regroup. Here in the game, Radjabov played the most accurate move, rook to d1. Here in the game, queen to b2 was played. We have queen to e3, bishop to c5, bishop to e2, knight to c6, and now c3. Okay, Teimur Radjabov is down 2 pawns, but he has a perfect activity with these pieces. The evaluation is better for black, but you have to really find, I think, here some stockfish moves in order to defend this. Queen to a3, castling, castle. Okay. Let's find now a good move. I mean by splash that you don't have such a great activity, then you don't have opportunities anymore to attack. Your attack, it's like you were driving in the 6th gear, now you're driving in the 1st gear, you know. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Tyrell, did I answer the question, or should I explain it more? So when you're on the attacking side, you don't want to splash the attack. You don't want to retreat where you don't have to. So you guess the move, which is, it's not that this move is winning, but it creates new attacking opportunities. Knight to f6, we had knight to f6, bishop to f6, knight to d4, rook to d4, bishop to d4, queen to d4. And now the only way to defend this position is rook to e8, but here g takes f6 was played, e takes f6, queen to a5, and let's find now a good move. we have talked about these things too. So when our pieces are perfectly fine, when we cannot actually improve the pieces, probably the next move is something else. So I'm not going to reveal you, but so now, and there is only one good move, only one. Every other move is losing. Hi, Spielwolf. Yeah, lose the initiative. Yeah, thank you, Terrell. Rook f3. Rook f3 is king to h8. We can. Yeah, thank you, Gerald. And I've seen also by ITMND man. Okay, I cannot read it again. So h4, yeah, h4 is cutting off this very important square for the queen, and it's game over. You see? So yeah, rook lift, rook to f3, king to h8. You try something like this. We can still compete. Queen to g5, rook to g8. So we can compete on the g file. So h4, king to h7, bishop to d3, and now black was really forced to play the move queen to f5. Here king to h8, queen to e4. Very, very cool move. So okay, pardon me, something went wrong. Okay, as I said here, Temur Ajabov grabbed the queen and won the game. So I wanted to show you now how Garry Kasparov plays poison pawn variations when he takes the pawn. If you want to see how Garry plays the poison pawn. Okay, here we have a similar position, Najdorf, Sicilian, a6, bishop g again, or queen to b6, poison pawn, queen to a3, bishop to f6. Okay, white has managed to mess up the pawn structure again, like in this French game that we have seen by Kovacevic against Bobby Fischer. And actually, you have to get out with the queen. That's the yeah, Michael, it's a series about learning chess on stream. So it's our 6th video. My goal of this series, Michael, is to have maybe 150 videos about learning chess on stream like this. So every time we'll have a different subject, and you can also send me your PGNs of losing games, and then we'll analyze them also on stream. So I hope I could have answered your question. So castling, bishop g7, Garry gets developed. So here he plays first on fast development, h5, attacks the king side. Here we have knight to d1, rook to c8, knight to e3, queen to b4. And that's actually a great move, because the main strategy of this poison pawn variations is now simplification. So we are up a pawn. We want to simplify positions. We want to trade off queens, going into an endgame, as I said, as fast as we can. So we want to make that happen. Of course, it's not possible, but it's our main goal. Yeah, we'll analyze your game, I think, in the continuation. Gerald, I'm really sorry that I cannot make really a real schedule. I will announce always the stream like two hours before, and it will be always 1:30 p.m. That's the schedule, because I think when it is 1:30 p.m., then you can maybe if you're from the USA, you can still watch it, and when you're maybe from India or Eastern countries, you can still watch it. So I hope you can agree with that schedule at least. So I'm not sure when I can, because I have still regular work, and the problem was also that I had some construction work at my home. So I'm moving always from one room to another room where my construction workers are not working. So I'm trying to make everything happen. So I hope you realize. So then I cannot just maybe make a stream and then you listen to some, I don't know, sounds of machines or something. So okay, as I said, main strategy of the poison pawn is to simply trade off queens. Here c3 was played, queen to e4, bishop to d3, here queen to a4. Here Garry Kasparov also went for another poison pawn, maybe queen to b6, simply getting out of the ring. Queen to e4, knight to c4. You see that queen could be trapped here. Knight to b6, queen to a3, and here black, pardon me, white should have proceeded with knight to c4, and this game would lead into a draw. So Garry Kasparov made also a mistake. He took the pawn on e4, went to this line, but okay, here white wanted to win the game. Played rook from a to e1. Okay. Knight to e7, liberating this. Here rook to knight to c4. Okay, and yeah, I will make Kyoto. I will make new thumbnails for every for the whole series. So there will be number one, like problems of queens, number two, central control, and similar stuff. So I will make new thumbnails for the videos, and I'll make a playlist so you can check them all out. So knight to c4. We have seen the problems of the queen. So here Kasparov decides to take rook to c4, bishop to c4, and now h4, bishop to d3, f5, blocking now really the position. White is up the exchange, but doesn't gain anything. I think bishop to e2, bishop to g7, and it's perfectly fine. So I think black get out of this mess, still has opportunities to play a rook to g8 and maybe attack. Garry Kasparov also careful here, it's really wild, but as I said, there are many good moves now for black. The relation is +1 for black here. So here c4, h3, g3, d5. Here, and this pawn was marching, and it was game over. That's not the point. I just don't want to show you really every game from the beginning till the end. The main strategy is, as I said, trade off the queen, simplify the position, get the hell out of the with the queen. The second poison pawn you have seen now in these three examples. When you go after the second pawn, that's poison sort of, then you could have some trouble. Also Garry Kasparov risked here a drawish line with his perpetual attack against the queen. So my goal is here simply to point you out that these are some pattern positions which you have to recognize, take care, watch out, because these are really dangerous positions. You have to be sharp in tactics. The queen is the piece. We have talked about the problems of queens in my series so far. So very important stuff. So okay, we have reached now this one game played by Kobe 318. Is this Tyrell or is this I'm not sure anymore. Kobe 3. Is this Tyrell Jeffries? Uh, is here Kobe 318 on the stream? So that's his game. I'm gonna maybe. So it's now a game played by my subscriber. The problem is always on YouTube that this that the chat is always a little bit late. Okay, Juanma, thanks for joining. Okay, here it's a gameplay by Kobe 318 in the 150 attack. Here queen to d2 against the Perch defense, rook to e8, and there are now really great lines. And here bishop to e2 was played, and here's one line that I recommend you in the 150 attack. It's bishop to h6. Black could go bishop to h8, but now we could still play queenside castling. Queenside castling is, I think, our main goal. Bishop c4 is here a possibility. Knight to g5. h4 is a possibility. So that's in my opinion, in this, after this move, rook to e8, it's an obvious idea of whites, pardon me, of blacks to play the move e5. And I still kind of like this most aggressive approach with bishop to h6 or queenside castle. So without this bishop move, because we can still make a decision where to go with this bishop. Bishop to d3 could be a possibility, bishop to c4. In my opinion, bishop to e2 is a little bit too passive. So if you want to play the 150 attack, it's not so important where to go with that bishop immediately. If we play bishop to h6, then maybe bishop to g4 could happen. But now actually we could play here knight, bishop takes h6 and still attack this position with queenside castling, h4, h5. So okay, here pardon me, Kobe 318 played here the move bishop to e2, and you see now after knight to g4, bishop to g5, h6, and now h3. This move is actually not good also, because the problem is now after h6, the main goal of the 150 attack is to provoke your opponent with h4. Then he can maybe try g5, bishop to g3, and now he has now to face several light square problems in front of the king. So that's the main issue, and that's why I don't like this move bishop to e2 too early, because you would love to have now maybe the bishop here on d3, and then in long terms play something like e5, maybe then build a queen and bishop battery on light squares. And now h5 is h4 is also a possibility to break the position. So in my opinion, this bishop to e2 is not really the common move of the 150 attack. But okay, here h6, h3 was played, trades of pawns. Still it's a good position for black, but now after trades of pieces here, bishop to d4 was actually a possibility. Here we can take out, I think, this pawn. So here queen to f3, okay, it's not a possibility, sorry. Queen to f3 is now an opportunity to attack the position, and queen to h3. Okay, it could be a checkmate threat. But as I said, here I think after move e5, that was actually the correct move. Black has simplified the position. Black can hang on to this position with queen to d7, protecting here. The problem is you can never deliver checkmate on the h file, because the bishop is a good protector of the h8 square. You can maybe play one check, but then the king gets to f8 and you cannot play any more queen to h8 because the bishop is covering that square. So as I said, maybe for my friend Kobe 318, as I said, the main goal of the 150 attack is to play a very fast bishop to h6, then h4, h5. Keep this bishop flexible. This bishop still can be maneuvered to some better squares. I think it's much better. Bishop to e2 seems to me always like two passive ideas in the 150. So okay, let's see now. I think this is Chess Master Secrets against Start Stapler. This was now our friend YTMND Man. It's now his game. Let's check out the game. E4, E5. The Ruy Lopez is on the board. Yeah, and that's actually, let's flip this. It's actually a very familiar known line of this Ruy Lopez. Yeah, with h5. That's actually a line that you should know in the Ruy Lopez exchange variation. You should really be familiar, because if you take the bishop, h takes g5, h takes g4, h takes g4, and then you see you're already in trouble. If you go with your knight, then you get queen to h4 and you get checkmate. That's the main issue. It's really a popular line. So h5, we have d3, queen to f6, again with the same idea. Still white cannot take out this bishop. Bishop to g5 is not so good. We'll simply take out the knight, and then afterwards here is bishop to f6, we can take out this one, and it's a much better position here for black. So here knight from b to d2, knight to e7, still main line. Again, I'm pointing out this cannot be taken. H takes g4, h takes g4, again with similar ideas. So yeah, thanks. Yeah, if he plays f3, then you can pass through with g3. Let's see this possible continuation. Yeah, okay. After h5, here, this one, here, this. That was this suggested line by my friend here. So g3, yeah, then you pass through with g3. Very cool. So I think you should be really familiar with this exchange variation of the Ruy Lopez. That's actually one of the first things that my father teach me when we studied chess. So he teach me this line with h5. I remember when I was a kid, he showed me this one. So okay, queen to f6. So d4, knight to f4. You're getting the knight on a very active square. Now comes this trade, h takes g4, and now g3. G takes f3, queen to f3. Here check. Actually, queen to g6 here is an option, the engine says. Or knight to e6. Knight to e6. Queen takes f6. G takes f6. Yeah, it's a good position, I think, for black, because we can occupy here this square. Still you have some worries on the h file. Okay, queen to f3, knight here takes. Yeah, and actually it's not so good a position anymore. This pawn structure is messed up, but still we have here a 5 versus 3 situation. Knight to f3, bishop to c5, c5 maybe, then e5. Okay, you have to, yeah, Here things got very messy because it's a better position for the knight now. 4. Yeah, it's really a tough game. What was the tempo of this game? Knight to h3 wasn't the best. Yeah, knight to h3 was an inaccuracy. After this one, I think white has simplified the game, but let's go back. I think we can agree with this line. That I think someone should really see this line with. So after h3, h5, that you shouldn't retreat with the bishop. It's really an aggressive line of the Ruy Lopez exchange variation. You should do it. It's the best way to proceed here. Simply, many games have been played in this particular line, so it's something. Let's see here. Peter Leko, Vasily Ivanchuk are playing this game, so this was, I think, a beautiful game, but you have to be simply accurate. That's simply how chess works now these days. So it's simply you have to be really sharp. You have to really see the best next move, the next engine move, in order to win the game. So okay, this will be it for today. I hope you enjoyed this stream today. We'll do soon more. As I said, please send me your PGNs of some chess games, then we can analyze them, because I've got some, but I don't think that they're meeting some ideas. I really don't want to see your great brutal winning games. If you send me great winning and brutal games, but you just let me know that these are games for that, then I can sort them out, and then we can make maybe a special video about that games, about great attacking games. But as I said, I really wanted to that maybe some beginners are showing me their games where they make mistakes, where we can improve ourselves, and similar stuff which are meeting our basic problems in chess games. So okay, as I said, I hope that you enjoyed this stream. I really enjoyed it a lot after a while, because as I said, I have this trouble at home. Not that you should be worried about my trouble, but as I said, I have to make something first to happen, and then we can make this really often. So okay, see you soon, and chess is the best, of course.